Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob. And I'm just sitting here on the street and watching the homeless people march up and down it. And everyone in this town who has money and a home and a car and a business, when I tell them that there are hundreds of homeless people, they go, "There are no homeless people in this town." Anyway, how was your Thanksgiving? Did you have a nice Thanksgiving? Did you have a family to go to? Did you go to a church and help people who don't have a family? Did you do anything for someone else? Because if you want real happiness, that's where you get it, helping other people. So, I can talk your ear off. I started out a show here, and then the guy who I sit on his furniture, I have lunch at his place, and we're buds, and his wife is, but everyone, they have a really nice crew. And so he's here on his day off, kind of cleaning the place up. And so he made me a cup of coffee, and we talked for a good hour or so. Yeah, give or take. And so I have this shtick where I tell stories, right? Senses of disbelief. And so they listen to the story. It always has they're like homilies. They've got a message, right? And so after they get the message, they go into dream time. Why this show is called Dreamy Dreamland with Sensie Owl Bob. That's me, your sensei. And what is that? It's a Japanese word that means teacher. Owl is in many, many cultures, it's a name that is given to people who are thoughtful, right? And Bob is a Sumerian, translated from the Greek to the Latin to the Hebrew to the Sumerian. Bob is God, right? But not the Almighty, not the creator of all things. Just one of those demigods, like in the Bible, in Genesis, the first words, and in the beginning all things were dark. And then there was light. No, and then there was a word, and then there was light. Well, the light is Jesus Christ, and the darkness they're talking about, because the Old Testament is the Torah, the Hebrew tribes book, right? And that they were talking about, a Jewish folk who are no longer the 12 tribes, right? They've been more homogenized into Judaism. And there are, still there's the Lubavitcher and the Hasidim and the Anunnaki, and there's the Reformed and but not quite the 12 tribes, because they're all Jews, right? And that came around because of Israel, and Israel did not show up until El, because again, in Genesis, an Elohim, right? And what is that? That's the plural of El. And El is the word for the name that cannot be spoken of the creator of all things, the great creator, El, right? Elohim is the plural, which means demigods, smaller gods, meaning angels and demons. And they're the workforce, of the holy realm. And, Satan isn't quite evil, because there's really only one sin: when you turn your back on God. Satan hasn't turned his back on God. He's always being the cheeky monkey of God. He doesn't ignore God. He's right, cheek to cheek, as they would say. And anyway, why Satan was put here in this experience, so Elohim, the plural God, the demons and fallen angels, the Anunnaki. Basically, they wanted some workhorses, and so Adam was made. But Adam needed a workmate, and that's what it says in the Bible, workmate, right? And what it really was, they needed to replicate more of these monkey boys and girls. But El, creator of all things, always has a long-term plan, right? We have no idea what El is doing or why El does what he said. If there was a God, we wouldn't have all this terrible stuff. Sorry, kids. The terrible stuff doesn't come from God or El. It comes from the chuckleheads, the Elohim, the Anunnaki, the demons, the angels, the fallen angels, all of those guys who were just, they're doing what they were created to do, make havoc. So we, the monkey children of God, and we, it's the only reason they come up with this idea of evolution is because it frames capitalism very nicely, right? And in industrial economics, because it's, if we are coming out of this mechanism, it's that of the survival of the fittest. But no, the universe we live in is a loving, abundant thing. But we have been taken out of the easy bake oven of the Garden of Paradise and put into the material world, right? The mercantile. And that is a word that comes from, again, Sumerian, and it's basically, it means to sell your soul for chump change, right? So that's kind of where we're at. And we have to go through this process because we have to get to a place of enlightenment that we can appreciate what we got. Most people have no appreciation. There is no gratitude, or respect, right? So it's really bright. I don't have my reading. I can't see anything you're saying. But make comments, Hit that subscription thing. Hit the like button. Put stuff in caps so I can actually kind of read it. Said hi. Let's see. Production, competition. Solution. Yeah. The Hegelian explanation of culture. Problem, action, solution. Ooh, isn't that a manly sound? Usually that sound to me says there's a hole in the manifold. Anyway, so what else was chasing your chaps? Competition, right? There is no valid competition. It's a something that's not really there. It's an illusion. This whole material world, this mercantile world, is an illusion. The only thing that's real is love. It's the only thing that matters, right? So it's up to you guys and everyone else to, in your own way and every day and every way, take the peace of the earth and make it stronger. And that is the, what God calls the compact, or, the covenant, the Ark Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant isn't some box, some whoop-de-doo thing is hiding in. We are the Ark. Human race is the Ark. And that Ark is, we are the reflection of God's outcomes. And God needs us to be that reflection. God is a work in progress. I mean, yes, Alpha to the Omega, but it exists in the moment, not in the past. So when you read all the holy books, those books aren't like, manuals on how to get to heaven. Those books are basically tuning forks. You read the stories in them, and if they vibrate that you can feel that emotion, then you're getting something out of that book. And the Hebrew tribes didn't just have the Torah, which is the Old Testament in the King James, right? And the Hebrew word, the Torah, if you even when Jesus was around, he wasn't speaking Hebrew. Everyone spoke Greek. That was the mercantile language of the day. And the Romans were the up-and-comers, and they were like, America was the Greeks, and really England was the Greeks, and China was the Romans. Right? America used to be the Romans, but we are the failing slot. Just like the Spanish were that. That was the Spanish Inquisition. If you want to really learn that kind of history, watch Monty Python, especially their movie, The Meaning to Life, right? So all their movies, The Life of Brian, all of them, the one about, King Arthur and the Holy Grail, all of that. They really are good. So, what you guys are saying here? So it's, problem, action, solution, that's, like I said, the Hegelian tool for control. Competition's another tool of control. These aren't things that exist in reality. What you need to do is go into your heart and find the thing that rings the bell, that puts you on the state of understanding why you're here. If you think it's about your job, your career, getting money, buy a house, da-da-da-da-da. No, not really. That's not the story. To win the point, I have an opinion, and my opinion is a point of view that's valid, and I'm going to take it to the mat. I don't give a fuck. You can have an opinion. You can have a point of view. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. If it's interesting, I might listen. I can learn something. I definitely will listen. I'm an active listener, right? Now, I can talk up a storm. I can tell you a story, but it's a tool I have to basically get you guys to walk away from your illusion, and a lot of you have. And that's why God keeps telling me to do this, not to become, I was telling somebody just a moment ago that a car blew up in July, end of July. So for 16 weeks before I came to the non-disclosed location, I basically, was living out in the woods in the deep green, which was great. It was like warm. It was 70 degrees every day, 50 at night. It didn't rain at all. It was great. All I did was sit on the lawn watching the grass grow. And the first week when my car blew up, I couldn't get in the car and just go someplace, right? Go online, go get a hot dog, whatever. I couldn't do that. I just was there. And it made me walk. I had to walk 1.25 miles up to my neighbor to get on his deck and do a show, right? So that was good for me. It really did a great thing for my legs, So, and I'm shot, meaning I worked a good 11 years in the corporate world, and super hedonism put on 250 pounds, above the 210 pounds I already had. I was 460 pounds to 480 pounds to when I died. Now I'm 190 to 109. Yeah. So I lost all that weight. It took, a good 10 years, but the damage was done. I have diabetes, I have arthritis, I have everything that the modern American has, but I'm not dying of it, right? Because God has stuff for me to do. I just keep being placed in a place I need to be, and I'll be here as long as God needs me to be here. So that's what I'm doing. So anyway, I basically I'm doing this, right? And I do this show because I'm the pebble in the World Wide Web. Drop it in there, it's there. all 3,000 of my shows. I keep telling you guys, go watch the other shows. They're all good. None of them have names. Some of them do, some of them don't. Just go to, my shows, put your finger, they're all lined up in a row, put your finger on one of them and, swat your finger up the screen and it'll go boo, 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 boo. Just like, Dialing for Dollars or whatever, that TV show where they had the magic wheel. Anyway, that Bob Barker was the first guy, and spayed and neuter your children. Oh, I mean your pets. So anyway, it's still nobody. See, there's nobody. Is anyone watching? 2 people. Hey, how you doing? How about a thumbs up? How about, subscribing? And put something on the algorithm for me. Because like I said, it was kind of interesting when it was the end of August, beginning of September, when I would walk up to my neighbor's thing and do a show. From 1 to 6,000 people watch a show. And they do it pretty quick. I mean, I don't think those shows lasted. I mean, I used to do shows that lasted 8 hours, because when I was at the school with Johnny Boy, when most of you people kind of came on board when I did the story about the old Irish crone. So anyway. Oh, someone's, the real, hold on, let me see if I can find my glasses in my pocket here. I think I did, okay. Here's the glasses. Let's see if I can read. Let's see. The real sword is in Sam Chapel and 200. Look to it, please. No joke. Okay. Whatever you tell me, I will. Tuscany. Yeah, beautiful place there. Chapel. Yes. The Italians have some beautiful churches, especially the little ones in little towns. So, Silver, man, message retracted. Message, let's see what you said. I don't want a moderator. I want to see what you said. And won't let me even look at what you said. Do you want a moderator? No, last time I tried that didn't go well. Added boy or girl. 40498. I love history, and I've been lucky to celebrate a marriage in it. You're a lucky guy then. Story. A sword that inspired King Arthur. Okay. And, again, all of these tools that are found and given, phony stories to hide the reality of what it was a tool of, You know what I mean, Mr. Silver or Miss Silver? I love history and have been lucky to celebrate a marriage in it. That is a blessing beyond measure, right? And I call myself an itinerant scholar. And my historian friends call me a holiday historian. Not that I study holidays, but I have fun doing it. It's not like my bread and butter. I just go in, and I actually get paid. Back in the day when I was an itinerant scholar, I would be there shoulder to shoulder with real historians who were like trying to write their thesis and their doctorals and all of that kind of stuff. And I was lucky to be paid way more than, they weren't even being paid. And I was, had access to what they had. And I could, have fun doing it, not be under the pressure, under the gun, or any of that of the academia. Because academia was put there by the Jesuits. The Jesuits are the guys who have the collars. And the good old days, the collars were needles. It wasn't just a piece of, cellulose around your neck that kind of made you uncomfortable. No actual freaking needles going in your neck. That's the Jesuits. The other guys, the monks, they were, they drank a lot. That's all I can say. So I used to hang out with those guys too. I was supposed to be a rocket scientist for the Vatican, and once they wanted me to really join their club, not just give me access to the information and have fun, sifting it out and going to conferences and talking to famous people, and I remember I was at this one conference and I said, the devil is a good thing. And half these people spat out their false teeth. Now, what are you talking about? I said, well, first of all, God made the devil, right? Well, God made everything. Well, he's a fallen angel. I said, no. From the beginning, he was made with this character, right? And so he was there to be the cheeky monkey. God needed a foil. We're talking about swords. He needed a foil. So that was Satan. Satan doesn't do any sin. No, he's a tempter. We do the sin. And what is the sin? The sin is when we turn our back on God. That's the only sin there is. Fornication, what is fornication? It's not like the poking and poking. No. Fornication is when you turn your back on God. When, what's the number one of the commandments? Because before the Ten Commandments, before Moses, they were guys, they were chuckleheads. They were out there and begotten this and begotten that, right? They were living thousands of years because they had no idea that they were doing anything wrong. They had pretty nasty fights, but, who cares, It wasn't a sin. No one knew what sin was. As long as you gave the priest the offerings, right? And today, it's, a check and a TV dinner. That's the offering in our churches today. But anyway, I digress. The most important thing in all of your lives is to do what our friend here is, right? Has the blessing to do something, study history that they love, and share it in a marriage with their comrade, right? You can't have a better life than that. And praise Jesus, praise God that our cadre here has that, our member. Praise Jesus for you. I'm the melting point of black and white. Ooh, I like that. Yes, silver being a melting. Yes, I like that. Now this ain't a scholastic talking to us, kids. This is a scholar here. Oh, no perfection. Everyone can try to shine. No, not try, can shine. All you have to do is do your best. You can't be perfect, but you can do your best. But not on the heads of each other. Yes, exactly. And that's what competition is, right? And that's why it's an artificial edifice. And that's why it's a sin. Our capitalist system is a sin because there's competition. Any economic system, what is democracy but communism? What is it? It means, okay, the rich can be rich and they can lie, cheat, and steal and control everything, but we give a few crumbs to everybody else. We give them a little health care, we give them, little food, we give them their welfare check, but they're still rolling around in the slime, right? We mesmerize them with the screens. The Romans had bread and circus. We have big screens, little screens, and fast food. Night dreamy. Yep. Me too. I now have a real bed to sleep on and I have heat. So, Man, I've been having some real fun dreams. I mean, really, really, I've been having dreams of things I did mixing with other people, like historical folk walking into something I did 40 years ago and having even more fun doing it. Like, I've been having some really super fun dreams. And as soon as I get my laptop fixed or get another laptop, I'll start writing the shit down. Anyway, but I spent a lot of time writing, like years. And God said, you don't have, you can write this shit in your head. And that's why I started Dreamy Dreamland, because that's what it is. All these stories and stuff is, I have it on thumb drives. I can go to the library and I have my little spot on the internet, Griot Publishing, where you can go, X-Rated, Xratted, X-Rated. Um, anyway, I'm sure it's still there. So, and that's the beauty of the internet. But the internet's going to go away relatively soon. I say within the year, we're going to have an electric collapse because it's going to be we haven't done anything with our electric grid in 60 years. No upgrades, no nothing. We just keep pushing higher and higher volume of current through these ancient wires. And now that we're having all these big data centers that use up, you know, Elon Musk's center down in Electrolux factory that the people in Memphis, the politicians who got paid off, gave to him. It's right there where the main electric line comes in, so he's sucking that dry. So the poor people in Memphis, they used to pay $13 a month for an electric bill. Now they're paying $130 for their electric bill, right? They used to have kind of water, but now he's using it all. So they get this dreck, coming from the pipe, and Elon's burning bunker oil in his gas turbines, right? And spewing that particle matter. And then Donnie wrote an executive order that EPA doesn't have to look at that shit no more, which is the most dangerous thing to air pollution, the particulate. Not the CO2 or the this or that, which, they're not great, but the particulate is what gives people asthma and kills them. It's kind of like having, black lung from a coal mine in your neighborhood. Dismiss is helpful review. So, anyway. So you have to realize that all of this is an illusion. So we're going to lose electricity, lose the internet, and then we're going to, Nikola Tesla, who invented alternating current, and that's the current we use. We don't use Edison's DC, we have AC, high frequency, right? High voltage. Well, he built Wardenclyffes in the 1890s. He went one step further. Those big transmission lines you see, the current is going through those wires. Those wires are wave guides. The current is all around the wires. He took it one step further, where he could transmit electricity off through the planet, anywhere you wanted it. Bang, right? And, by doing so, you add HARP and chemtrails and that technology that you vibrate certain areas. You can make hurricanes, you can make floods, you can make earthquakes, anywhere you want, right? So that's what they've been using it for the last 70 years. And now, we're going to have some real rock and roll with our weather and earth changes, to the point where everyone's going to be scared. Oh. And then, Elon Musk is going to show up as the new demigod, along with Peter Tilk. And, okay, everyone's going to become transhuman. Just, take this pill. You got the red pill or the green pill. And then we'll go deeper into the Matrix. And we will come out the other side as James Kirk. And we will live in a federation, which you don't want to live. I mean, just go watch the early James Kirk. I mean, they were zipping around in those starships and, making other planets part of the Federation. What were they doing that for? Because they were nice? No, they wanted their stuff, right? It's just like the IMF, right? But on a solar system level, on a, galactic level. And we're already there. We already had the guys out there, All the spaceships we see zipping around ain't ET. ET has been here for a long time. They don't need a spaceship. They matter trans. If you watch that thing called Stargate, that's what they got. But it comes out in the bathroom in the bus station. It's like anyway. Don't believe a word I say. I'm just a storyteller, right? Come on. 30 minutes and 34 seconds. Let's have some thumbs up at least. Come on. And tell some people about it. Subscribe. Let's get some more subscribers. Go look at the past shows. Get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at gmail. Dudeawake42 at gmail. See how that works. So when I really used to hawk that, dudeawake42 at gmail, I get a lot of people, especially people who had problems. People who wanted to end it all because they were so desperate. And that was the cadre. Now, anyone who comments is the cadre, but these people were the needy cadre. And my telling them stories mano a mano kind of got them off that, kind of got them distracted from just being me, and went into, I have to be my best, not just me. And so it worked out. And there you go. You know what I mean, man? You know what I mean? Anyway, I have to walk because my butt hurts. And if I walk away from... Yep. But no one cares. No, I care. Spaceship Earth. And, competition, when we, chop down old growth forests and destroy water tables and do it for profit, which is meaningless. Cash is just paper or bits on a, computer. It's like, and that's the sin. When we destroy this beautiful Garden of Eden or profit. And Asheville is a good example. I lived there 10 years. And it was a city that was a gorgeous, city built in the turn of the century by rich people, the Biltmores, the Astors, all the artisans lived there. And then, the Depression took that town down. And they had a debt that they didn't finish paying until 96. So that whole city was stuck in amber. So when I showed up there to do an ethnography on the Biltmore House, because the federal government and the state government and the corporate state said, okay, it's time to bring this area back and we're going to turn it into tourist land. And that's what they have. They have covered every square inch. Everything from, down at the bottom of the hill below Asheville, like near, Charlotte, all the way up the hill. All the way up, right up to the border of Tennessee and then into Tennessee. So now, little towns like Hampton and Buttonwood and Johnson City and Kingsport and Dollywood Land and Greenville and all those, which were cute little towns where nobody was, are now just covered in $1 million houses and, Elks Mills and Banner Elk and just gorgeous little mountain, beautiful places. And now they've been destroyed, cut down, and they have, it's a sawtooth mountain range. You can't put highways in this land. So there's zillions of people trying to drive on 2-lane roads. It's just... And that's why the roads are destroyed, and that's where where the deep green is. It was getting pretty noisy, pretty covered with cockroaches, and then the roads just started sliding off the hills because the tractor trail, and these roads they were built for small little farm trucks, not, 500 million ton tractor trailers, We all make our own heaven and hell right here on right. There is no transactional deal that you can make with God. No. what you're supposed to be doing is co-creating in love with God. That's why, there was Moses. He'd like run away from Egypt. He was like up there in Africa, hanging out. He met this kind of smart old guy, and that guy had some cute daughters and a nice wife, and he stayed there for 30 years, right? And he was happy being a shepherd. And then, bango, one night, burning bush. And he knew, Moses knew who that was. And kind of ignored it. And Moses, look, it's a burning bush. Hey, over here, moron, look at me. And Moses, why should I? Because I'm your God. Oh, who are you? What's your name? What authority do you have? Well, I am. Oh, big fucking, we all are, I am, right? And had that kind of conversation. No, Moses, you have to go to Egypt and take the Israeli, those chuckleheads, they constantly kill each other. They're nothing. They're a waste of time. No. They have to become Israel. Oh, no, I'm not going to do it. God, and the burning goes, well, you can do that, but there's a consequence. And Moses right away knew that. Okay. What do you want me to do? Go there, get these clients, and go where? Huh? What? Okay, okay, do that. So how can I do that? I'm an old guy. I'm like, pushing 60 right now. I'm happy just to look at the stars and the sheep, and you break my being calm, my ease. You're breaking my ease. You're giving me disease here, burning bush. You're dissing me, boy. And no, you got to do this. Okay, I'll do it. Right? So he does. But he doesn't obey God. He does it his way. And that's why, he didn't get to see the promised land. Okay? You know what I mean, man? Yep. It's a choice. We have a choice. We're put on this earth to be the decider for our choice. Not anybody else's, ours. It's all about our decision. Mr. Mailman, you're doing a great job. Yeah. Have you ever eaten in this place?
No, but they get a lot of people.
You got to. It is the best.
Yeah, it smells awful good. I know that.
No, you can afford it too.
Yeah. Well, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Thank God a box. I guess we'll try that.
Well, he might be there.
Oh, it's all right.
Right. Yep. It's
Somebody's excited about seeing the power.
No.
Later is just as good as sooner.
I never think of that.
Yeah. Nobody's popping too hard.
No. I'm so poor I don't have to pay the electric bill.
Well, there you go.
Yep. So I don't think about it. Whoops, low battery. I gotta go, kids. I'll see you later. Okay? How much juice do I have left? Yeah, about a few minutes. Well, I've been here for almost 40 minutes. Oh, look at that. 38. That's a good enough time. So, Silver Peak 498, you and yours, your beautiful comrade, and you have a beautiful day. Each day is Christmas. Each day is a holiday. Each day is your birthday. Each moment you're born again in love's co-creation. That is the relationship we have with the Creator. That is the covenant, love's co-creation. And the doorway we have to go through, because we're pudding heads, we can't be perfect. We really can't be good. We can be our best. But we just have to be in co-creation with love and walk through the door of forgiveness. And once we get to the point where first we can forgive ourselves and then we forgive all the others. Mr. Mailman, bless you for everything you do. Have a good holiday. So that's where I'm leaving this thing. I'm going to walk down and talk to more people on the street. There's nobody in town. Everyone's kind of not here. But I'm going to go see who's here. Okay? I love you. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe the next day. Who knows? but it's a little easier now for me to do it. And, you know, they have good food here.